rear end feels so good. Birds flying up around us, always a nice feeling when you're in a sports car. Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and thanks to Boston Motorsports here in Brighton, Massachusetts. We're driving a normal car, well, as normal as I get. This is a 2021 Maserati Levante GranSport. It's a non-S, so this has 345 horsepower, not the 425. So yeah, I told you, we're gonna do a normal thing today, except for the fact that this yellow paint costs $16,000. So step aside, PTS. This isn't just called yellow, of course. It's Forestieri Giallo Modenese. I think I did that right. The Italian followers can let me know. But basically, it means custom yellow paint from Modena. That's where the cars are built. And as far as practicality goes, I mean, look, I think if you're buying a Maserati Levante, it's not because you think it's the best thing on the market. It's because you like the character and you love the engine, because this thing sounds so cool. And I just reached up for the button and I realized Maserati's actually clever. You know, not everybody's tall enough to reach that. They put this down here. I definitely appreciate that. But inside, frameless windows, and on both front and rear, we get these dual pane glass. So the insulation is nice. But we do have certain luxuries in the rear seats, including heated seats back here as well with 2 settings. So let's start it up. We got to hear the car. This is why you buy it. I'm always caught off guard by the fact that there's a left ignition on this, like a Porsche. Pretty innocuous, nothing crazy, but then we go ahead and throw it into sport mode. Instant rumble. All right, we can't rev too high because we got to warm it up, but let's take a look under this hood. Oh, that's yellow. It's very pretty. It's nice under here. It definitely feels Italian, and you know, it kind of looks like looking under the hood of an old Gran Turismo, except we've got 6 cylinders instead of 8. So, enough chit-chat. Let's go take it for a drive. Hey, even that's yellow. It's the wrong yellow, but it's yellow nonetheless. New for 2021 is the infotainment screen. It's based off of an Android system, I'm pretty sure. That doesn't really matter to me. I wish it had buttons. I mean, look, I like buttons, but it works. And if you're familiar with like any FCA or I guess Stellantis things, that's very familiar to you. So if you've ever driven a Durango or a Charger or something, like, you'll be right at home. All right, enough city crap. Let's go through a tunnel at wide open throttle. We've got a ZF 8-speed, makes the shifts pretty snappy. Ooh, that's a nice upshift. That's a nice little crack on that upshift. Maserati loves this column-mounted paddle thing, which, to be honest, I've been driving BMWs for so long that I'm very used to a wheel-mounted paddle, and Audi does it as well. I find it to be more intuitive, but this is definitely the more sporty approach to it. This is like the proper paddle approach. This is probably the more supercar approach to a paddle, even though I don't prefer it. There is something oddly charming about the 190 mile an hour speedometer. All right, we got some bumpy road ahead, so I want to see how this handles the bumps. I mean, we are still on a relatively low profile tire. You're not gonna absorb too much through the sidewall. Yeah, you're gonna feel everything. It smooths it out enough that it's not jarring, but you know, you definitely notice what's going on in the road. And it is a driver's car. I can't hold that as a strike against it. Great visibility. Oh, the upshifts feel so good. You know, 345 horsepower, it's not crazy, and if you want more, you can get more. Sorry, I got an itchy back, man. You can get more. You can get the S, you can get the GTS if you really want to spend the money. I think the S is probably the sweet spot. I understand why someone might option a car like this, because it's, you know, it gets expensive if you really want that custom paint, and if the power doesn't matter all that much to you, it's fine. And this is plenty. This is fast enough. It's not gonna like rock you in the back of your seat, but it is going to be able to get out of its own way. And there's something to be said for being able to like redline your Maserati anytime you want, because it's not going to put you in jail. Maserati seems like such a misunderstood brand, because are they a sports car? Is it a luxury car? I don't think it does either particularly perfectly. There's a lot of compromise between the two, but then again, it's kind of always been like that, which leads me to believe Maserati is about character. It's not even that fast, but the pop is just fun. Okay, so maybe Maserati is not just this like, oh, watch me on a skid pad, watch me outperform this on a racetrack. I mean, look, are we looking at the Gran Turismo and saying it's a piece of garbage because it doesn't outperform a Ferrari or a Porsche? Of course not. I mean, they might have a reputation for reliability issues, but they are genuinely charming to drive and they sound incredible. This is not a new thing. Maserati's kind of always been like this. In fact, the oldest Maserati I drove, I want to say was a 1970 Ghibli. It was a Ghibli Spider. Believe it or not, there was a Ghibli pre-current Ghibli, and it was nothing like the current Ghibli. It's kind of like a Ferrari Daytona. It drove like a truck. It had a stick shift. It was fine to drive, but it wasn't particularly fast. It wasn't particularly luxurious, but the coach work and the driving experience was pretty unmatched, and it was worth $800,000 today. Like, seriously, that's how much money this stuff costs. And so today, you know, you look at Maserati, and I think a lot of people who are pragmatic like myself, who are Porsche buyers primarily, and I'm sorry, I'm trying not to be like a huge indictment on Maserati here. We look at these cars and we say, well, it can't do what that car can do for the same price. And the Maserati buyer goes, yeah, I don't care. It looks better. It sounds incredible. It makes me smile every time I drive it, every time I look at it parked. But I have to wonder why, in a world where everyone's shouting save the manuals from the rooftops, we don't have the same enthusiasm for cars that maybe don't make as much sense on paper. Hear me out. A Porsche, a Mercedes, a BMW, an Audi, those probably make more sense on paper than something like this. You know, you do performance versus cost, and there you go, you have it on paper. Well, a manual transmission really doesn't make any sense on paper, yet everyone wants to row them. You know, cars are too fast. Everything has a turbo now, so with a manual transmission, you find yourself experiencing a lot more lag in your life than you would if you had a dual clutch or even a fast single clutch or a torque converter automatic. And yet here I am defending Maserati to the same people who demand an impractical manual transmission in their vehicles. Why? Why do I have to do that? So Maserati, I have to applaud them. They very much stick by their guns when it comes to this stuff. All right, let's see what's down here. Old Lexington Road. I like that. I like the sound of that. Really, that sounds fantastic. I know I keep getting, you know, quivers over the upshifts, but they do sound good. ZF has brought so much to the game for like normal cars, because that's a pretty bird. I am so distracted today. What is going on with me? Okay, so while it may not be as sporty or as capable as some of the standard sports cars that we typically see, it's still plenty sporty. It's still fun. This is an enjoyable car. It has a little more torque than it has power even. So it feels really nice under your right foot. Any input is going to react. And we've got a limited slip differential. So that rear end feels really planted on a corner exit. GLS looking good, but this is cooler. Even in mid-range upshifts, it sounds nice. Like, I genuinely think that the consumer who buys this vehicle is buying it because it does give them a bit of the fizz. It is a Jeep thing I would not understand. Although this is the same parent company. Are we good? Everybody cool? Off we go. Sport mode for the suspension, sport mode for the engine. Let's see how she handles an off-ramp. rear end feels so good. Birds flying up around us, always a nice feeling when you're in a sports car. Could it do with a little bit more power? Sure. This is plenty though. Nice grip. This is a joy to drive. Like, I'm having fun. I'm feeling everything. Sorry, I gotta make sure that my little audio recorder doesn't fall out of my sweatshirt pouch, but that's a good sign. If my audio recorder is falling out of my sweatshirt pouch, that means I am having a good time. This 8-speed is definitely geared for fuel economy on the highway. Like, holy cow, it can't even go into 8th gear at 50 miles an hour. It's like basically at idle at that point. Let's see if we can get up to highway speeds. There's, let's say, 70. There's 8th gear, like 1,400, 1,500 RPM. That's so cool. I think it's just so much easier to talk about new technology and cars that are cutting edge with what they're doing. But I think when it comes to a car like this, they get swept under the rug, because all anybody wants to talk about when it comes to car reviews is, check out this new tech. Ooh, it's a hybrid drivetrain. It's sending power to the front wheels. It's got this torque vectoring. But what's missing is the driving experience. Very few car reviewers really truly embrace and value the experience of driving. And that doesn't always come from the most practical package. It doesn't always come from the cheapest package. This is an expensive car. You're over $100,000. And I mean, if we're accounting here, we might be able to find more practical options. But if this is what you want, if this is the feeling that you want, if this is the vibe that you give off, well, who am I to say that there's a more practical option? Go buy a Honda. Go buy an Accord. Like, if we want to talk practicality, you should be buying a Civic. You should be buying a manual Civic that has as little possible things to go wrong on it as you can imagine. But that's just not the world we live in. And if a bright yellow Levante is the thing that makes you smile, that makes you happy, if you like feeling that rear end lock that diff on a corner exit while it crawls its way out of a corner, then this is the car for you. It just is. So I try not to give consumer advice, because I don't care what you buy. I like to drive everything. So look, I'm not buying all the things I'm driving, and I don't like all the things I drive, and I tell you when I don't like them. Pause for yellow gang. But that's what I like about the auto industry, is that even now, even in a world where everything is getting so homogenized, we can still have a little fun. We still have options. There's still stuff that surprises me. And yes, I am in a bright yellow Levante sandwiched between two school buses. If you can't find the joy in that, you know what? You're in the wrong place. I hope the school buses appreciate this as well, because I am loving this. Not even a look. Well, I had fun. That sound just does not get old. I've got to say too, because it's not particularly fast, it's fun to drive in traffic. This would drive, if I think I had another 100 or 200 horsepower, I would be very frustrated on this drive today, because we have encountered a lot of cars. There are people blocking me, right? Whereas in this, I'm able to still exploit it. I'm able to still kind of go wide open throttle without being a dangerous monster, but it's still plenty to get me across the highway into the passing lane when I'd like to. So I want to give a huge thank you to Boston Motorsports, part of the McGovern Auto Group in Brighton, Massachusetts, for lending me this ridiculously yellow Levante. I had a fun time driving it, and I think I had a more fun time driving it because it's yellow. Honestly, if this was a black or white car, I might not be smiling quite as much. So if you're gonna buy something like this, go all out, get the color. It'll make you smile. It'll make people smile around you as well. Thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Special thanks to those Patreon supporters who make this content possible. It means the world, whether it's $1 a month or $10 a month. It's serious. It's keeping this going. It's keeping this going. It's keeping the podcast going. Don't forget to respect the drive. Even when you got some left lane hogs, it's okay. Don't panic. Don't get road rage. And I'll see you in the next one. People are definitely going to notice you in this car, that's for sure. So on our gauges right now, we've got the auto start stop, but I like that it shows me my oil temp, my transmission temp, and the oil pressure. Obviously, the oil pressure goes to 0 when the car shuts off. That would be very bad if the car was on right now.